At the end of the century, 1901, this dress worn by Arlene is representative of a woman of moderate means, dressed in mourning for the loss of a spouse or a child. This is indicated by the dress being entirely covered in dull fabric and also trimmed in non-reflective fabric. The long veil with wide borders and deep hem, also made of silk crepe, communicate that this is being worn for the loss of someone in her own household. Mourning customs were starting to abate by the turn of the century, and a generation of young women in society and in the workforce were less interested in following the dictates of custom and fashion in such matters, and they thought that they were silly and old-fashioned. Arlene used an ageless pattern for her design. Her hat is a black straw toque covered with silk crepe that she copied from an original vintage hat in her collection, and her blackened case watch is attached to a vulcanite guard chain. Very interesting. Thank you, Arlene. We are going to conclude our timeline with the year 1910. A high point of the British social season, the Royal Ascot race represented a glittering legacy. In 1910, tragedy struck when His Majesty King Edward VII died. What was the world of fashion to do? The king was a passionate Ascot attendee and would have never agreed to the suspension of the week-long meet. So although the royal box was quite deserted, with the royal family in seclusion, outside of the royal enclosure it was packed as ever, although out of respect the elite were clad in black and gray. Cindy is wearing a layered style dress popular throughout the teens. The overskirt and sleeves are made from sheer dotted Swiss. Velvet eyelet trim is used for the collar, cuffs, and belt. She used a cotton applique as a bodice insert, and this is an alteration of an older simplicity pattern for her design. She is ready to stroll at the races with her large hat, covered in black velvet and ostrich feathers, and carries a walking parasol. On her left shoulder, she wears a memorial rosette of King Edward, as did most race attendees, and binoculars for viewing the race, gloves, and a double-strand black bead necklace complete her outfit. Thank you, Cindy. By the teen years, at about 1913, mourning rules had changed from the rigid Victorian rules to simpler ideals. People began to adopt the more practical custom of simply wearing dark clothing to express their mourning. But back then, wearing black was also considered fashionable, as it is today. So buyers of antique fashions beware. The black gown you are looking at may not be mourning, but may in fact be a fashionable little black dress. As always, I want to extend a huge thank you to all the ladies that participate in the show. Very brief note, if you don't wish to take your programs with you, if you could leave them so that we can reuse them, we would appreciate it. Please don't throw them in the trash.
About a year ago, I proposed this to Nancy as a possibility of doing more mourning. And so I contacted a group of ladies that I knew like to do fashion shows and suggested 100 years, which would be 11 people. This is like herding cats. Unfortunately, we lost a few people, and most recently to some illnesses and injuries. So we didn't get our full entourage today, but I hope you enjoyed it. And thank you, ladies, so much for spending the past year working on this, and I hope we do it again.
The next event in our Dickens Festival is going to be our character parade. We will be assembling out in front of the library on Michigan Avenue at noon. If you would like to be in the parade, by all means, see Our Lady Vicky, who's the one that's going to be running around handing out signs. We have 5 Dickens books being portrayed, and we hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend.